You know, people say, speak up, let it out, share your heart. And yes, there's power in vulnerability, but not all the time, not with everyone, because the truth is, not everyone deserves a front row seat to your struggles. Not everyone can handle your truth, and more importantly, not everyone wants to. I've learned this the hard way. See, when you start sharing your problems with people, thinking they'll understand, thinking they'll help, you quickly realize that most people don't actually care to solve anything. They just want something to talk about. They'll nod and smile to your face, but behind your back they'll twist your story, they'll minimize your pain, or worse, they'll weaponize your truth against you. That's not strength, that's betrayal of yourself. You don't owe anyone your chaos. You don't need to bleed just to prove you're hurting, because here's the thing. They don't need to see the scars to know you're healing. Your silence isn't weakness, it's strategy, it's grace, it's protection. It's the mark of someone who knows the value of their emotional energy and refuses to hand it over to those who haven't earned it. I'm not saying stay silent forever. I'm saying be selective. Guard your soul like it's sacred, because it is. Talk to your God, write in your journal, go to therapy if you must. But don't hand out pieces of your heart to people who collect them like trophies. Keep your dignity intact. Silence is power because it keeps people guessing. It makes your moves speak louder than your words, and when you rise, because you will rise, let your success be the only explanation anyone ever gets. Let your peace be the loudest noise in the room, because when you carry your pain with quiet strength, you walk differently, you glow differently, you grow differently, and let me tell you something else. When you master the art of silence, of keeping your storm private, you become unstoppable. You stop reacting and you start responding with purpose. You stop begging people to understand and you start understanding yourself. You stop waiting for someone to save you and you realize you were always the hero. So the next time life hits you hard, and it will, don't rush to explain, don't look around for comfort in the wrong places. Stand still, be quiet, let the world wonder, let them question, because your silence. That's not surrender, it's strategy, it's power, it's royalty, and it's yours. Not everyone deserves access to the deepest parts of who you are. That truth is often learned through painful experiences. In a world that constantly tells us to open up, to share our feelings, to be vulnerable, it's easy to forget that our vulnerability is a treasure, not a free sample. People may smile to your face and appear supportive, but intentions are not always pure. The moment you reveal your struggles, some will use them as material for judgment, comparison, or even manipulation. You may think you're being real with someone when in fact you're feeding their curiosity or giving them a weapon. This is why silence becomes your armor. It's not about hiding, it's about protecting what's sacred. When you choose to keep your problems to yourself, it doesn't mean you're emotionally closed off. It means you're emotionally intelligent. You understand the value of your story, and you're careful about who gets to hear the raw, unfiltered version of it. Everyone isn't entitled to your pain. Just because someone asks doesn't mean they deserve an answer. There are people who will only check on you to check asterisk in asterisk on you, not to genuinely help you heal. They want to know what's going wrong in your life so they can feel better about what's happening in theirs. And here's the irony. When you hold back and choose silence, people often mistake it for strength. They assume you're fine because you're not complaining. They assume you're strong because you don't show weakness. What they don't know is, your silence is a choice, a bold one. It means you've decided that your journey, your healing, and your inner battles are not up for public consumption. You're choosing to grow in private, to fight your battles with dignity, and to come out stronger without needing applause or pity. Real strength isn't in how loudly you cry out, but in how gracefully you endure. When you learn to carry your pain quietly, you develop a resilience that doesn't need validation. You learn that not all wounds need to be witnessed by others in order to be healed. The world doesn't need to know every detail of your struggle for your breakthrough to be real. By keeping your problems close and your circle tighter, you gain control over your narrative. And that control, that choice to be silent and selective, is not a weakness. It's the beginning of power. Silence has a way of creating space. Space for healing, space for reflection, and space for peace. When life becomes overwhelming and emotions threaten to drown you, the instinct might be to talk, to vent, to cry out. But there's something deeply powerful about choosing quiet instead. Silence allows you to pull back from the noise of opinions, the chaos of outside voices, and the confusion that comes from trying to explain what even you haven't fully processed yet. In that silence, you find your peace. You give yourself permission to feel without performing, to hurt without having to explain every detail, and to think clearly without the influence of others' expectations. Peace isn't something that just appears, it's something you must protect. In protecting, it often means withdrawing from conversations that are not safe, from people who are not genuine, and from situations that add fuel to the fire already burning inside you. When you choose silence, you're not giving up. You're stepping back to regain your balance. You're saying, I will deal with this, but I will do it on my terms. That decision to pause, to be still, is a radical act of self-respect. It's how you begin to take your power back from people and places that never truly honored your spirit in the first place. Sometimes the loudest thing you can say is nothing at all. Silence can't be twisted, it can't be misquoted, it can't be manipulated, it stands untouched, unedited, and pure. In a world where everyone is oversharing, where opinions are flying and judgments come quickly, choosing not to speak can feel like rebellion. But it's also a statement: your inner world doesn't belong to just anyone. Your pain is not public property. When you protect your peace through silence, you remind yourself that healing is not a performance. It's a private revolution, and in that stillness you start to hear something you may have forgotten, your own voice. Not the one shaped by fear or doubt, but the calm, grounded voice within you that knows what you need. Silence allows that voice to rise. It's the voice that tells you to let go, to hold on, to breathe, to believe again. That's what peace sounds like. Choosing silence isn't about shutting down. It's about tuning in. It's about finding clarity in the quiet and learning to trust the wisdom that speaks without words. When you protect your peace with silence, you're not running from your problems. You're rising above them. Your emotional energy is one of the most valuable resources you have. It's the fuel that drives your ability to think clearly, make decisions, connect with others, and most importantly, survive the tough moments. But too often, that energy gets wasted on people who don't deserve it. People who aren't listening, people who don't care, or worse, people who only show up to drain you. When you pour yourself out, hoping for support or understanding, and get empty responses or silence in return, something in you breaks. And over time, that constant reaching out without receiving anything back leaves you tired, bitter, and emotionally bankrupt. That's why choosing where your energy goes is an act of self-respect. Not everyone is your safe space. Not everyone can handle the weight of your truth, and not everyone deserves the privilege of knowing what's going on inside your heart. When you start filtering your emotions through the wrong people, your story loses its power. It becomes a spectacle, a topic of gossip, or just another piece of noise in someone's busy life. The more you share with people who don't value your vulnerability, the more you lose touch with your own healing. It's like watering a plant in someone else's garden while your own roots are drying out. That's why silence isn't just a defense mechanism, it's wisdom. It's the awareness that your energy must be protected, guarded, and spent only on what truly matters. When you choose to stay quiet, not because you're afraid, but because you're aware, that's maturity. You begin to invest that emotional energy into things that serve your growth, into journaling, into reflection, into prayer or meditation, into setting goals, or simply into rest. You stop scattering your heart across conversations that go nowhere, and instead, you anchor it in places that bring peace. This doesn't mean you isolate yourself or pretend everything is fine. It means you become intentional. You recognize that healing isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet process of letting go, resetting, and realigning. You stop giving away the most sacred parts of yourself to people who haven't earned your trust or proved their loyalty. Your energy is precious. Don't spend it explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. Don't waste it trying to fix others while you fall apart. The more you learn to hold your peace in silence, the more you reclaim your power. And in that quiet strength, you find clarity, control, and the confidence to rise. There comes a moment when words just aren't enough. You can explain, justify, defend, and still be misunderstood. That's why sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say nothing at all, and just let your actions do the talking. When you stop trying to convince people of your worth or explain your pain, and instead start focusing on your growth, your goals, and your comeback, the energy shifts. People may not hear your words, but they will feel your presence. They will see the difference. They'll watch you rise, and that will speak louder than anything you could have ever said. You don't need to tell people what you're going through. You don't need to beg them to care or try to prove how strong you are. Just keep moving forward. Let your focus be your message. Let your silence speak of your resilience. The truth is, most people don't listen to understand. They listen to respond. They hear what they want to hear and ignore what they can't relate to. So why waste your breath trying to be understood by people who aren't even trying to know you? Why pour out your truth to ears that are closed? Instead, let your progress be the reply. Let your calm be the answer. Let your silence be the statement. Every time you choose not to engage in unnecessary drama, every time you walk away from negativity, every time you stay focused on your growth, you're sending a powerful message that you are in control of your life, your emotions, and your journey. And when your actions align with your strength, your silence becomes louder than any explanation. There's something magnetic about someone who doesn't need to talk about their pain, but transforms through it. Someone who doesn't shout about what they're doing but shows results. It makes people curious, it makes them respect you differently, and most importantly, it keeps your power in your own hands. When you stop oversharing and start outperforming, the energy around you changes. You move from being a victim of your circumstances to the author of your story. So don't worry about proving anything to anyone. Just keep building, keep improving, and let your life speak for itself. Your breakthrough doesn't need to be announced. It will reveal itself, and when it does, the silence that protected you will become the echo of your strength. Your results will be your voice, and they will say everything that needed to be said. Choosing silence in the midst of chaos is not about avoidance. It's about control. It takes incredible inner strength to sit with your emotions, to not react impulsively, and to process things on your own terms. When you don't respond right away, when you don't jump to defend yourself or explain everything you're feeling, you give yourself room to actually understand what's going on inside you. That space between emotion and reaction is where self-mastery begins. It's where you stop being driven by outside forces and start operating from within. There is power in observation. When you're silent, you begin to notice more about others, about situations, and about yourself. You start to see who really listens, who really cares, and who's just there for the show. You learn to read between the lines. You begin to understand that most of the noise around you is just that, noise. And when you realize you don't have to participate in every conversation, every conflict, or every opinion that comes your way, you gain an incredible kind of peace. You stop reacting to every little thing and start choosing what's worth your time and energy. That control doesn't come easily. It's earned through practice, through moments of restraint, through choosing reflection over reaction. There will be times when you're dying to speak your mind, to clap back, to explain your side, but staying silent doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're wise. You understand that not every battle is yours to fight, not every misunderstanding needs to be corrected, not every insult deserves your attention. Silence becomes your shield. It keeps your dignity intact while others waste their breath. And in that silence you learn who you are. You're not defined by your anger, your pain, or your need to be understood. You're defined by your ability to stay grounded in who you are, even when the world around you tries to pull you into chaos. You become the calm in the storm, the one who moves with purpose, not panic, the one who knows that sometimes the most powerful move is no move at all. Mastering your emotions isn't about pretending they don't exist. It's about acknowledging them privately and then deciding how, or if they deserve to be expressed. That's real power, that's maturity, and the more you embrace that quiet strength, the more unshakable you become. In silence, you don't lose your voice. You find your authority. There comes a moment in life when you stop waiting for someone to show up and rescue you. You stop hoping that someone will understand the depth of your pain or offer the perfect words to fix what feels broken inside. You begin to realize that the person you've been waiting for is you. That shift in mindset is everything. It's the moment you stop looking outward and start turning inward. When you embrace the truth that you are your own hero, you reclaim all the power you've been unknowingly giving away. That's when everything starts to change. Being your own hero doesn't mean you never need help or that you carry the world alone. It means you take responsibility for your healing, your growth, and your direction. You stop handing your peace to people who can't handle it. You stop relying on others to tell you who you are or what you're worth. Instead, you get quiet, you go inward, and you build strength in the silence. You discover a resilience you never knew you had until life forced you to stand alone. And it's in those quiet, lonely moments that you meet the most powerful version of yourself. People may see your strength and assume it came easily. They may admire your confidence, your grace, or your determination, not knowing the silent battles you fought to get there. But you know. You know the nights you cried in silence, the days you kept going with a smile while your world felt like it was falling apart. You know how it feels to push through without applause, to stand back up without support, to believe in yourself when no one else did. That's the kind of strength that can't be taught. It's built through survival, through silence, through self-discovery. When you stop expecting others to save you, you stop feeling disappointed. You no longer need validation to move forward. You no longer fear rejection because your worth isn't dependent on anyone else's recognition. You know who you are, you trust your path, you rely on your own inner compass, and that trust, that self-reliance becomes your superpower. So don't wait to be chosen, choose yourself, don't wait to be rescued. Rescue yourself, because no one else can fight your battles the way you can, and when you emerge from the fire stronger, wiser, and more grounded, it won't be because someone saved you. It will be because you discovered who you were all along. You were always the hero, thanks.